I put up here the most optimistic models, which is the Rome 1K model. It's showing a glimpse of life, and that's a building sort of southerly sea breeze. It's not too much driving it today. It's cold outside, there's no gradient breeze. So it's a sea breeze trying to develop really all on its own in isolation. I think the telltale signs for us will be sort of watching up and down the coast, up at the airport where it's going to come from, and does it get going to the north of us down at Matara, in that area. Probably a critical time for us is around 3:30 p.m. as to whether we have got away at that time. I'm sure we're going to have wind, but can we set aside the wind limits, bearing in mind our wind limit is 6.5 knots, which in these sort of numbers here, it's obviously looking at a pass of 5, but I'd like to see that number over there more 7 to 8 before we're going to pass, because there is always sort of dips in the averaging. So it's going to be one of those days where we go out there, fingers crossed, and hope that we get away on time. I think we're looking for it to sun to come out and warm up, and hopefully this sea breeze will get some strength and build on itself by itself. And as I said, 3:30 is probably a critical time for us to make a decision whether we persevere past that and close the broadcast window down at 4 o'clock, where it's scheduled to, or we go into extending, hoping to get something past that date, that time. Sunday doesn't look a whole lot different. Breeze is in a different direction, out of the east, but once again it looks light, but I think potentially a little bit more favourable. If we don't get racing on Saturday or Sunday, I think Monday looks quite reasonable to get back going again. Anyway, 2 races scheduled today. Obviously that requires on Great Britain to win a race to carry it on, because it's on match point with New Zealand. And a course like that in these lighter breezes will be a C6 course. You might have noticed yesterday we went for the C6 course, and breeze increasing and going right, we got a little bit caught short in race time, around 25 minutes, and we sort of ran out of the inability to lengthen the course. We're up over 2 miles per league, and we get sort of trapped between the shore and the helicopter flight zones and our restricted areas offshore. Today there's been a little bit of inquiry and things, so I asked Richard to put together a little bit of the start process from yesterday.
Which one do you want to see?
I think we'd like to start with the last race and just see how close New Zealand was to the line. So the interesting thing...
Do you want me to speed it up again?
Yeah, sure, speed it up. Is the blue line and the brown line represent the wind angles, the wind direction on the 2 yachts, and you can see that they're not quite aligned. So there we have the start of New Zealand punching the line at the last thing. So that's 1.4 metres doing 33 knots, or roughly 5 milliseconds. 50 milliseconds, sorry. 1/20th of a second. So there's a very good reason we don't try to call who's over the line and not, because my eyesight's not that good. But it's amazing the technology we've seen here. But if we I think maybe we go to the other one now. We can look at the lifts and knocks off the start. This is in the first race, when New Zealand clearly wanted to start to the right, expecting some right breezes and allow themselves to get sort of crowded up against the windward end of the start line, or the right-hand side of the start line. And by distance to the line and everything, Ben got a very, very good start. Well, GBR got a very, very good start. But New Zealand got the right favourite they wanted. In most instances, we've seen so far this summer, that would have been a strong enough position to force the windward boat to tack away before you got to the boundary. But you can see here the disparity in the right direction which New Zealand was chasing came to them and saved them in this position. And you can see it coming around the blue line, twisting right, not quite getting over the GBR, and the big right-hand turn off the start line saved their bacon here and allowed them to go all the way. Even though it did start to come back to the left, it allowed that buyout of distance to windward as they approached the boundary, and by then it put them into, you know, an incredibly good position from probably a very difficult position at the start line, and hence the tack and already in front. And I think the start, it just shows you how much pressure's on them, what's required to deliver that sort of 50 milliseconds, 1.4 metres, and 33 knots, and how important it is in the outcome of the race. You know, getting to the lead in the race yesterday, and having control of the shift that we spoke about yesterday, you know, the sailors race, or a racetrack that has a lot of variables and opportunities for others. Getting control of that was all important yesterday.
Yeah, can I ask a quick question just about that?
Sure.
When we were tracking up the left-hand side together, what was the distance between them at that point? I mean, obviously there's a big difference in wind angle, but what was the actual distance between the two boats?
Well, Richard can measure that.
Not on this video. Well, if you think a boat's 23 metres long, well, the boundaries are 70 metres apart, so
100 metres.
just over 100 metres.
The wind shift that New Zealand got immediately off the start was in the order of 15 degrees, so it was significant for a short period of time.
And we've seen, from an umpire perspective, we've seen, this is the thing, we've been watching shifts that go from left to right on the track, not just coming down, of course. We've noticed that a lot with how the different wind shifts and how they impact. So this is another example where at first we're going, well, how come the winds are so different? But then the boat performs to what those different winds are, so we can rely on that wind.
So Richard, do you have any
No, we got
outcomes from yesterday?
No, we enjoyed the first race with the manoeuvres in the pre-start. We weren't asked to give any opinions, but we certainly enjoyed that. We're starting to see a lot more action.
It was a reverse turn yesterday.
Well, it was a correct right turn and the anti-clockwise turn. So we saw both sides yesterday.
All right, any questions? Well,
See you all tomorrow.
Thank you.
Ian,
Yes?
can we have some of those nice cookies we've heard?
That's Mel. She's got them, look.
That's Mel,
No, not ours.
Mel.
Famous now.
famous voice of the America's Cup.
Can you show again the start of the second race, please?
Start of the second race.
Yes. You said they were 2 meters from the line?
1.4 metres. 1.455 metres. Back to your sort of chest height. When we were sailing Advance in France 3 in 1983, Bruno, we weren't that good.
Hey, 40 years ago.
You want to pray?
Thanks, team.